throughout a season, throughout a series, throughout a night, that just kind of tell you it's your year. There are things that happen that make you say, this is my year. And by my, I mean you, not me. Number one, the New York Knicks last night at Madison Square Garden took 500 gut punches from the Boston Celtics, and they responded every time. A sign that it's your year. OG Anunoby, let's not forget this, is holding his hammy. And he goes to the locker room. And then he comes back. It's just a sign that it's your year. And then after this game is decided, because it was, the Boston Celtics' best player, who left it all out there last night in Jayson Tatum, goes down with a non-contact injury, and the road looks a little bit clearer. It's another sign that it's your year. The Cavs are banged up. The Warriors are banged up. The Thunder look beatable. And here you are, after last year attrition beat you, and you were the unlucky ones, and here you are up 3-1 on the world champions, and everywhere you look, it just feels like it's your year.
Forget all of that. All of that. You know what matters for New York Knicks fans? Tommy Lugauer was in the house. Positive Tommy, the voice of all the Knicks fan on WFAN radio, was in the house last night. It's the first thing I thought about when the Knicks won. I was like, damn it, Tommy was there.
He really is a lucky charm.
This is real.
Yes.
So thank you, Kerry, for taking Tommy, being his date for the night. I hope all of you Knicks fans, as one of our callers suggested near the end of our show, sought him out and bought him beer.
Generational talent.
Because Tommy is a generational talent. He is the good luck charm that the Knicks needed. Not one point in this game did I feel like any of the first three where it's like, oh, dude, the Knicks are getting destroyed. They're getting blown out. Yeah, it got to 14 once, but then it quickly came back to the Knicks, and it's all because of Positive Tommy. So congratulations, Positive Tommy. It was that impromptu Cinco de Five-O that Sean forced on you that made this thing happen for all the Knicks fans. Way to go, Tommy.
Thank you, Tiki. I appreciate it. And it's my pleasure, because last night at Madison Square Garden, it's the type of night as a sports fan that you just dream about, where you get to share that experience with your New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, whatever the case may be, Long Island, don't want to forget anybody, all your Knicks fan brethren. It was amazing. The streets were amazing. The Garden was amazing. It was just a euphoric type of night.
And now you're one win away from the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right. That's what makes it feel like it's finally attainable.
You know,
finally attainable.
One thing that's very, very important, and we all know this, but I don't think enough people appreciate this on this Tuesday afternoon, because I think Celtic fans are regurgitating it incorrectly. The national media is regurgitating it incorrectly. And you know this because you watched every second. We know this, but it needs to be said. While I feel awful for Jayson Tatum, and we all do. Yeah. Every human being feels bad for Jayson Tatum.
I hate that injury is becoming so common.
It's awful. It's awful that it's common. Mm-hmm. It's awful that it happened to him. But the Knicks won the game before Jayson Tatum got hurt. Let that be known.
Right.
Let that be clear. The New York Knicks had opened up a 9-point lead. It was a 7-point lead when OG forced the turnover. And on that turnover is when Jayson Tatum went down with about 3 minutes to go in the game. The game was over. Mm-hmm. So let that be clear that the break, if you will, of Jayson Tatum likely not playing in this series, that's a break for game 5, 6, and maybe 7. That's not a break for game number 4. Because what happened in game number 4, which is so impressive, is I think for the first time in this postseason, Teague, the Knicks played a complete game.
They played a complete game, and yes, it got away from them at points, but they easily corrected it. It wasn't like they went to sleep for 6 minutes. They went to sleep for 2 or 3 minutes. And I got to tell you, sometimes it felt intentional. It felt like they were just in a lull, slow playing things, and then ultimately they turned it on. And it was everybody, right? We talked about a couple of days ago how, sometimes it's Josh Hart has a good day. Sometimes it's OG that has a good day. Sometimes, it's obviously always Jalen Brunson, but last night, it was all of the above, from McHale to OG. Karl Anthony Towns had a big day despite not making any three-pointers. He played with a physicality, and obviously Jalen Brunson was a superstar going shot for shot with Jayson Tatum. You give a ton of credit, one, to Tibbs. I know we don't like to do it all the time, but he had these guys prepared even when they got down at points. But I think most importantly, like Mitchell Robinson with the minutes that he got. What did he play? What do you have? How many minutes did he play last night? 20, 25, whatever. Yeah, 25 minutes. Like, he was impactful, and he smartly got him out of the game when it was clear that they were going to start hacking a Mitch. And
they never did.
They never did.
They were never in position to.
Right. He didn't have any free throw attempts.
Yeah.
I mean, it was perfectly played. And Tommy.
Well, you know what benefited them too, though, oddly enough, was that the Celtics are very keen at not committing fouls.
Right.
And that backfired.
Of course.
Because then the Knicks weren't in the bonus for them to hack them.
Exactly. So they couldn't do anything. Tommy, this was, to me, and I haven't look, people always ask me, why didn't you become a Knicks fan when you moved to New York? You became a Yankee fan and blah, blah, blah. Because the Knicks sucked. Right? It was hard to watch them. Was this the best Knicks game that you've ever seen? Most important Knicks game that you've ever seen?
I can't say that because I've seen them in the finals twice, so I can't go there yet. But I can say that this was the most important game. Even though they played a Game 7 last year against Indiana, the vibes going into that game with all the injuries and the way the series was going, we know the attrition stuff.
It felt inevitable that they were falling apart.
Right.
At some point.
This night where you had Boston on the ropes and Boston lands that first punch, and you could kind of feel it in the building where people are like, oh boy, Tatum's going to have one of those big games. And he did. And for the Knicks to battle back like they did, and for Brunson to have the kind of game he did, and for, I can't say this guy's name enough, Mikal Bridges, clutch shots in the fourth quarter. His defense has been unbelievable. It was just one of those moments where you were like, you know what? All those decades of all the crap we had to go through, it was worth it.
Right.
By the way, that last sentence is why there is a very small part of me, and it's small, that is actually happy for people like you. I mean that because the Knicks fan has watched such garbage for so long that last night, as the Knicks are closing this win out, a very impressive victory. Not a game in which you could say, well, the Celtics just choked and missed a bunch of shots. And it was like the Knicks played from beginning to end a complete game, their most complete game of the postseason. As the Garden was rocking, there was a small part of me that thought of you in the building, that thought of Sal in the building, even though he's a trolling little bastard, and said, I'm kind of happy for them. Because it was special last night.
Right.
And I'll tell you, you said something to me the other day, and it rang true yesterday. Remember how the Celtics couldn't miss a shot in the first half of Game 3 and the game became a blowout?
Yep.
And I said, well, the Knicks missed a lot of shots.
12 of 19, I think they were.
And you said, well,
range.
Even if the Knicks made some shots, what difference would it have made? And I said, well, here's the difference. Instead of being down by 25, they'd be down by 12. And if you're down by 12, you have a chance to win. Last night, if you look at the way Boston shot the basketball early, it was actually the same as Game 3.
100%.
The difference was the Knicks kept up. That was the difference. And so come third quarter, even trailing in this game by 14 in the early part of the third quarter, what have we said for days? Keep it close, and I'll trust the Knicks to close this game out.
Right.
And that's exactly what they did.
Most importantly, you'll trust Jalen Brunson to do what he needs to do.
Which he ended up doing in the third quarter, and then once he came back in the fourth quarter. But think about this, and this is why this win is so impressive. And we'll talk Tatum and the impact and the injury. But the Knicks didn't win this game because Jayson Tatum got hurt. If you say it, if you repeat it, if you claim it, you're disingenuous or you didn't watch. The game was over when Tatum went down. Doesn't mean we don't feel bad for Jayson Tatum. We all do. Seriously, we're all humans around here. No one wants to see him go down like that, writhing in pain the way he did. But let's not get it twisted. This was a 9-point game with 3 minutes to go when he went down. But the New York Knicks took, in my estimation, 4 legitimate gut punches from the Boston Celtics. They took one early when the Celtics couldn't miss a shot. And I thought the biggest one they took was at the end of the first quarter. It's 28-27 Knicks. And with a minute to go, they go on a 12-0 run. A 12-0 run. At that point, I'm thinking to myself as a hater, oh, we got this one.
Right.
And the Knicks responded. They cut it to 4. And then the Celtics responded again. They went on a 9-0 run to get it back to 13. And they answer again. And then I mentioned that last response was really the third quarter when they were down by 14 and they're teetering on this getting away from them. And they responded. Their response last night, along with, sure, the breaks that come along the way, is why as we sit here today on Tuesday, May 13th, it is not crazy to say, wow, this team could actually win it all.
It's crazy to think that.
I hate myself for saying it, but it's true.
I mean, Indy's playing fantastic. Indianapolis is playing fantastic. But obviously, if they get to and face them in the Eastern Conference Final, that's a conversation for next week. But right now, the thing that we've said since the beginning of this series, really since the beginning of the playoffs, really since they gave this award to Jalen Brunson as the most clutch player in basketball, it couldn't be more true. It's crazy to think about when he came here from Dallas that people like Tommy had doubts about his stardom. Now, nobody could have predicted that, but when you think back on it, how could you have missed how clutch he's been, right? From every opportunity that he's been given to be a leader, to be a scorer, to be a playmaker. I mean, he basically took Derek White's lunch every single moment that he had last night. I felt bad, honestly, for Derek White. I'm like, you have no shot, and you're supposed to be an elite defender, and he's cooking you every single opportunity, whether it's stepping back, whether it's posting up in the lane. The commentators are even like, oh, he's playing great defense, and he gets dropped on him. So Jalen Brunson is... he's an X factor. You hate to say it like that because that usually is someone who you're not thinking of, but he is an X factor player that the Celtics don't have an answer to. And going forward, Derek White is taller, longer, all these things that say he should be a great defender on Jalen Brunson. He couldn't handle him. So who can handle him?
Jalen Brunson is what gives all the loser franchises in New York hope.
Yes.
Because the Jets are looking for a quarterback. I'll use the Jets as the example. And it feels like we've looked for a franchise quarterback forever. And you think it's this guy, you think it's that guy. It never turns out to be the answer. The New York Knicks for 25 years were looking for a star. And first they thought it'll be LeBron. He'll come here.
Yeah.
And then they thought it would be Durant. He'll come here. And after all those years of searching, or it's going to be in the draft, we're going to get Zion Williamson up. We don't win the lottery. I know what that's like. We end up with R.J. Barrett. Or we're so close to Seth Curry, but we end up with Jordan Hill. And after all that searching, the guy you've been waiting for was a free agent point guard that most teams around the league were like,
okay.
Okay.
He's a good backup.
But he is everything you dreamt of. He gave that superstar performance last night. He was the orchestrator of this offense last night, and it wasn't just him. You bring up Mikal Bridges, Tommy. How can you not? I mean, if he hasn't earned all the draft picks, when will he?
Forget the draft picks.
Forget it.
They all got accounted for last night.
I think the GIF that's on the internet makes a lot of sense. F them picks. But he has been brilliant, especially when it matters the most. And you look back at last night, there were so many moments as a hater, and this is where I can give you a perspective, where I thought you were done. OG holds his hamstring. I thought he was done. I said, here we go again. Attrition's going to win. That's all I'm going to hear from Tommy. And then he comes back. And when he comes back, it's like, wait a second. Did that just happen?
Right.
And, of course, even though it's bad and no one's celebrating it, Jayson Tatum goes down. Right. And you know what I say to the Boston Celtics? I don't say this to Jayson because I want him to get back. I want him to be healthy. But what I say to the Celtic fan is the same thing, Tommy, I said to you last year. Injuries are part of the game. It sucks, bro. It is what it is. It's the same thing I said to myself when I had injuries, when my team went on a run. It's a part of the game. Don't feel bad about it in terms of you're winning because of it. Who cares?
Right. The challenge is in the NBA, if you don't, it's not the cliche from, say, football. Hey, man, next man up. Next guy's got to go be just as good. It doesn't work that way in basketball. When you lose a superstar, one of the top 5 players in basketball, like Jayson Tatum, it's hard to recover from that.
It is. And you know what? To the New York Knicks fans who are one win away from the Eastern Conference Finals, you can do two things at the same time. You're able to do this. You're able to say, I'm heartbroken for the human. I'm heartbroken for the player. But that's sports, bro.
Yes.
And the Knicks are a win away from the Eastern Conference Finals, and you never have to apologize for someone else getting hurt. Just like the Pacers never apologized to you for OG and Josh and Jalen. And that's why I go back to the top. I know there's a long way to go. The New York Knicks are 9 wins away from an NBA championship. That's not going to be easy. But when you look around, not just the landscape of the league, but the landscape of this series and what you've overcome, it's starting to make you feel it is your year.
Right.
And I didn't even mention the Pope went to Villanova. Tommy, the Pope went to Villanova.
It is divine intervention. When you have positive Tommy and the Vatican on your side, the coalition stands no chance.
Oh, the coalition is breaking apart and dying before your eyes.
The Nets still in the league?
They are not, Boomer. They are not. We'll get to your calls next. Obviously, this should be giddy New York Knicks fans. From what you saw last night to what you look ahead for. 888-808-1019. And I love to do this with basketball. There is a play in this game that seemed very innocuous. It actually went against the Knicks, Tiki, but it actually was the most important thing that happened to the New York Knicks as well. We'll explain it coming up all live from the Town Fair Tire studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.